Easter teaching number 12, hanging on the cross. Follow the accounts in John 19 verses 18 to 27 and Matthew 27 verse 35. After Jesus was hoisted up on the cross, the soldiers went to divide his garments between them. 4 soldiers would have been assigned to crucify him, and these soldiers would divide the convict's clothing between them. This was considered to be the spoils of crucifixion. Jewish men in those days wore 5 items of clothing. 1. The upper garment, also called the outer garment. 2. The undergarment, also called the inner garment. 3. A head covering. 4. Shoes or sandals. And 5. The robe or outer coat, which was the one which had the largest single piece of cloth. The soldiers saw that Jesus' robe or outer coat was an expensive one and of good quality. They therefore cast lots for his robe, and one soldier would have won. This was in fulfillment of Psalm 22 verse 18, and I quote, "They divide my clothes amongst them and cast lots for my garment." Pilate then had an inscription fixed onto the cross above Jesus' head, making it a superscription. This was called a titulus and would have been written on parchment, displaying the crime of the person crucified for all those around him to read. However, the charge against Jesus read more like a statement. It was written in Hebrew, Latin and Greek, so that all could read and understand it. Matthew 27 verse 37. "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." In John 19 verse 21, the religious leaders went to Pilate and asked him to change the superscription from "the King of the Jews" to "this man claimed to be the King of the Jews." Pilate answered, "I have written what I have written." Did Pilate do this as revenge to the religious leaders, as they had made him crucify a man contrary to both law and to his judgment? Or did he truthfully have an inclination that this man could just be who he said he was? 2 men were crucified each side of Jesus. They are commonly referred to as robbers, but robbery was not a capital offence. It is very likely, however, that these men were of the party of Barabbas and were guilty of insurrection and sedition. Luke uses the word for criminal in his account, in Luke 23 verse 32. To start with, both of these crucified men mocked Jesus. Luke 21 verse 39. "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us." But the other criminal rebuked him. "Don't you fear God, since you are under the same sentence? We are being punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve, but this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said to Jesus, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus answered him, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." What a wonderful conversion. Even though this criminal was dying, he recognized that he himself was a sinner and that Jesus was not. Although Jesus was dying alongside him, he believed that Jesus could still save him. He recognized Jesus for who he truly was, the Messiah. He must have believed that although his Messiah was dying, he would have the power to come back to life and set up his kingdom. This is a clear picture of God's grace in action. Although Jesus was in agony, fastened to the cross, bleeding and dying, this did not arouse any form of compassion from the crowds. They jeered and mocked and laughed. The site of the crucifixion was near a main road leading into Jerusalem. On Passover morning, the city gates were open and traffic flowed in and out of the city. Those walking by could read the superscription on the cross. Mark 15, verses 29 to 32 tell us, "Those who passed by hurled insults at him, shaking their heads and saying, 'So, you who are going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, come down from the cross and save yourself.' In the same way, the chief priests and the teachers of the law mocked him among themselves. 'He saved others, but he can't save himself. Let this Messiah, this King of Israel, come down from the cross, that we may see and believe.' Those crucified with him also heaped insults upon him." Herod and Pilate, together with their soldiers, had already mocked and abused him. Representatives of every type of citizen in Jerusalem, from religious and political rulers, high-standing officials, ordinary people and criminals, they all mocked Jesus cruelly, yet he did not respond at all to their jeers. Jesus did speak from the cross. We will see that in our next study.